Another poor performance from Manchester United. Another game devoid of ideas, struggling to break down the opponents that are in front of us. And another nail in the coffin of Solskjaer for me. I will praise him. I will praise him when he has good results, when United play well. But what I know in the back of my mind always is that we're never out of the woods. We can't win more than 2 games on the bounce. We struggle against teams with low block. And before I go into more on him, congratulations to Arsenal, first of all. What Mikel Arteta did tonight, I've struggled to understand why other managers of the so-called top 6 haven't done this against Manchester United. Just let Man United have a bit of the ball. Let Man United try and attack. Let's see what space they leave us in behind to counter into. We can't, even with Arsenal's defense, United struggle to break teams down. Arsenal got their tactics perfect. They score after 8 minutes, average defending from Manchester United. Pepe puts them in front, and then United are just done. We didn't know whether we were pressing or sitting back. You saw in the build-up to the second goal, a long ball into our left-hand side defensively, Arsenal's right-hand side from an attacking point of view. Luke Shaw has pressed Pepe, who's near the halfway line, leaving a big space in behind. But Matic didn't follow in and take his player. He was just sort of sitting back in a real static position. Led to a corner, they get another goal. That whole first half, we didn't. It was like we were trying to counter, but then we wanted to attack. We didn't want to press, but we didn't want to sit back. There was no idea. There was no game plan. There was no philosophy. Absolutely nothing from Ollie. The players, by the way, atrocious in that first half. Whatever Ollie told them to, there's no way Ollie told them to do a mixture of a press and a low block. Whatever they were trying to do, I don't know. There's no way Ollie instructed that. The players made mistakes. But where's Ollie's intervention? Where's Ollie's, right, I'm going to drag you off now, Lingard. You can't control the ball. You can't pass the ball. You keep losing possession. Pereira get warmed up. Mata get warmed up. Greenwood get warmed up. Let's shake things up. Let's show these players that I mean business. Do you know what? We're getting overrun in the midfield, or we're getting caught out in the channels. Let's make this tactical change. By the way, that isn't me as a fan's job to know exactly what should be done. That's him. We could see we were getting overrun and we were getting beaten up in that first half. The second half, another massive well done to Arsenal. They did something that I've very rarely seen them have the capability of doing, even under Wenger. Holding on to a 2-goal lead, sitting there with a low block of 4 in defence, a block of 4, and then towards the end, 5 in midfield, and playing counter-attack football. In fact, 2 or 3 times they should have scored on the counter. Wonderful play from Ozil. Lacazette didn't make his run. Right near the end, Aubameyang's through. Should either score or square it properly. Game is put to bed. Good night, Vienna. But Man United, just no system in the first half. Not one player can walk away from that first half with their head held high. In the second, I thought Fred had a decent game. I thought he did all right out there. Luke Shaw at times, not too bad either. Martial showed for the ball a lot, had the ball a lot. Other than that, every other player out there, 2 out of 10 performance, absolutely woeful. This is Arsenal, who up until tonight's game had won 1 match in 15. This is Arsenal, who are the second worst team in the league in relation to conceding shots. And yes, McTominay was missing. Yes, Paul Pogba is injured again. But Man United must do better. The problem is, and I'll get right round to my point, and I don't care for the Ollie in brigade, the Ollie out brigade. I'm not party to either of those groups of polarized, aggressive sheeple, those fools who blindly back a manager because he's a legend, or overly condemn a manager every single day of the week and disrespect him just because they want him gone. I'm not part of either of those pathetic groups of people, because that's what they are. They're pathetic. I just want Man United to have the best manager available. I'll praise him when praise is due. Today, none. Today is the problem that I had with Ollie. It's a problem that I saw after the Aston Villa game, after the Sheffield United game, and multiple others before this moment. We have no style of play. There is no pattern to our play. In the second half, when Arsenal was sitting deep, there was a moment, and I spoke about this during the live watch-along. There was a moment when Man United had the ball on the left-hand side with Luke Shaw. There were 3 players: Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Ozil, and Torreira, They created almost like a crescent, a semicircle or a crescent around Luke Shaw, stopping him from being able to pass into Rashford and stopping him from being able to drive through them all. He's not Maradona, he's not Messi, he's not going to run through them. The only option is to switch the play. Now, Manchester United, if you were training for this and you were working on this week in, week out, you should be able to move that ball within 2 or 3 touches and passes of players to the other side. Because if you've got 3 people surrounding Luke Shaw, plus a centre-back close to them, that's like 2/3 of the Arsenal team in one very small, minute area of the pitch, meaning there is space elsewhere, especially when Lacazette and Aubameyang are on the halfway line. If you look at those 3 players and the centre-back is 4, you know where the goalkeeper is and the 2 strikers, there's loads of space for everybody else. But we're so lethargic on the ball, we cannot move it from side to side quickly. It's never 1 or 2 touch football. It's 3, 4, 5. There was another moment, last 5 minutes of the game, but it's a perfect example. The ball there is there with Pereira. Aaron Wan-Bissaka should be busting a gut to create an overlap, either to drag a player away so that we can get the cross in, or to literally be the overlap to receive the ball and cross. Doesn't make the run for 3 or 4 seconds, but the time he does as a covering defender, it leads to nothing. And yes, you can blame players at times, but this is taught. When you look at the football that Brighton play, Sheffield United, Wolves as examples, they're trained, they could do that better than Man United because they train for it more. That is down to Ollie. That is down to his coaching staff. They are not good enough for Manchester United Football Club. I love Ollie. I truly, genuinely love Ollie with every single piece of my footballing heart. But he is not, and he will never be good enough to manage this club. He will never be good enough to get us back into the top 4. He will never be good enough. And yes, we'll improve if we sign better players. If Pogba and McTominay were out there today and we signed another really good star coming through, we might win a few more games because of sheer individual quality. But Manchester United have to be better than just individual quality. It has to be the system and the style that works. We have to have a system and the style that carries a few average players, like all the great sides do. And we simply don't have that. We simply don't. There's a comment here from Ghost who says that Ollie got schooled. Yeah, you can call it. I don't. You can use whatever phrase you want. He did. And look, what Arteta did today, he got it. I think Arsenal played brilliant football. Is in terms of the passing and the movement. It was okay. It was okay. What Arsenal did though is they stuck to a system. They had a low block. They allowed Man United to have no space. They counter-attacked well. They worked so hard today, Arsenal. The way they pressed, the way they hurried for the ball, the way they surrounded Manchester United players. They were falling down with cramp from 65 minutes onwards. Why? Because they work hard. They run. This Man United team, I'm not saying they don't have the want to work hard. They had no idea what they were meant to do. And if they did and they got the instructions wrong, why are they not being berated? Why are they not being dragged off and saying, right, you here, you there, you do this. What's going on? Woeful. Super chat here says, Arsenal showed true passion, shocked with the attitude of players. Maguire was piss poor. Tactics sucked. Look, Maguire was poor. Wan-Bissaka was poor. Rashford was poor. They were all poor today. I'm not singling out any individual player here. All of them were poor. I know, again, what all those sheeple will do, what all the idiots will do, what all the fools will do is you'll get some that are gonna blame Fred, or they're gonna blame Pogba because he wasn't available. Oh, Trashford. You're gonna get some that are gonna go, it's because Matic played. Yeah. What happened in the games against Sheffield United? The game, against Villa, the game against Bournemouth, the games against Newcastle, West Ham. It's all nonsense. Singling out 1 or 2 players because over the course of the past 12 months, we've seen this game 20 plus times with multiple teams, with some of those guys included, some of them missing. And it's always the same, which means it's the system not you, the super chatter, but the people that spout this absolute nonsense that want to focus on 1 or 2 people. You're idiots. You're absolute idiots. All of them are dumb. And anyone who listens to them and gives them any credence, you are a fool and you're an embarrassment to yourself, honestly, because we've seen it over and over again. Yes, some of the players aren't good enough anymore. They're not. We need to buy new ones. But you throw 3 or 4 better players into this squad, we are not going to improve enough to get back to where we want to be because the management and coaching isn't good enough. It isn't good enough. And by the way, that doesn't give you an excuse to be vile and nasty and abusive towards Ollie. That just makes you look a pleb. You really do look a pleb when you do that. I'm going to do some more of your live comments here. Can we sack Ollie now? I hope so. I hope so for his sake. I hope so for the fans' sake and for the players, because it's just awful. It really, really is. Rashi was dead food today. Yeah, Marcus Rashford was poor today. And the thing is, I'm a strong enough man to admit that. Strong enough man. And that's what I know triggers so many of my haters out there, is that when it comes to someone that they know I rate who's poor, I can openly sit there and say it and I won't make excuses. I don't do what Have Hope does with when it was Eden Hazard and he'd blame every other player, every manager, every system for Eden Hazard having a bad game. No, Rashford was poor. Didn't show enough today. His touch wasn't good enough. His passing inside was awful, mistimed. No doubt about it at all. Made poor decisions. Woeful. Would say it to his face. He was that today. Doesn't make him a bad player, but he had a bad game. He really did. Let's do a few more of these comments here. No Pogba, no party. Well, again, that's a load of old nonsense, Ghost, because we've won some really important big games recently without Pogba. So again, we're singling out, if we had this guy, this wouldn't have happened. Nonsense. We've lost lots of games with Pogba in our team as well, you know. Were you watching the back end of last season? I certainly was. Man United haven't won 3 league games in a row since Ollie got the job permanently. That's embarrassing for Man United. Absolutely. And Peter Butler says 80 million for Maguire is shocking. Look, you're not going to get me here singling out players when we know the system is the issue. Because if the system is the issue and the training is the issue and we're not playing the right style of football, you are going to at times expose players. And what I mean by that is, take it away from Maguire in your example here. Fred today, I thought Fred did add some real decent moments. But because in the first half, so Fred was poor in the first half, but Fred was also hung out to dry at the same time. So could he help all of it? No. Why do I say that? Because you only had half of our men in front of him pressing. And because they weren't really pressing, it was easy for the Arsenal midfield to push beyond Fred and then for the defenders to step up. Fred's then caught in no man's land and he's getting bypassed easy because there's no press from Manchester United. Also, because you might then suddenly see a fullback press out of nowhere for no particular reason, it was then creating space for the attackers and midfielders to drop into. Fred's then being dragged out of position. Arsenal moving the ball quicker than Man United because we don't work on our speed of play. The ball gets knocked back inside and Fred's out of play. So my point is that there were 2 or 3 occasions where Fred was caught out today by a pass, run through, but it's because of the system that Man United don't have. If you look at the greatest managers around at the moment, the Klopps of this world, yeah, there's some brilliant players in those teams, but they're also helped out by the fact that they're coached brilliantly and they're set up wonderfully by that manager. My point would be this: Liverpool wouldn't be where they are now if Ollie Solskjaer was the manager. They'd have some really good moments because they've got brilliant players, but they wouldn't be what they are now. It's about the whole complete package. And it's why when the best teams sign top players, you see such a dramatic improvement, because it's the collective. Generally speaking, it doesn't always work out for all top signings. We do know this. But until Man United get the right manager in, it doesn't matter who we sign. We're never going to improve. And this is what Man United fans have got to get into their heads. Rivals are always going to try and banter you. And Peter, I know you're a Liverpool fan. You're a great guy. You're so fair and consistent in what you say. But I'm talking generally here. We always do it. I blame this player. I blame that player. I blame this guy. Remember, a few years back, it was Rooney being past his best and the Marouane Fellaini's of this world that were holding us back. You fast forward years later, they're all gone. We're still in the same position. It's because we haven't picked the right coach yet. We haven't picked the right people around him. We're not doing it right. And until you have the right coach, it doesn't matter who you sign, who comes into the club, who is here. Remember, we were Premier League champions when Moyes took over. And look how bad he did with those guys. And yeah, they were slightly over the hill, but they went from being champions to 7th. That's not because they've become bad players overnight. It's because of the way they were training, the systems. Maybe, if you lose, you're not respecting the manager, how hard you work in, the fitness levels drop. All sorts of things go on. So until they get that right, it doesn't matter about the players. Terry, should Man United buy? They need to. Stop moaning. Last week, they said Ollie is great. No. Well, I don't care what other Man United fans say, by the way. If you're here watching me, it's about, and it's me giving my opinion, it's about my opinion. I represent one person and one person only. That's myself. There are hundreds of millions of Man United fans out there. Do you know what always makes me laugh when people come here and go, yeah, but Man United fans said, I don't care what they said. I'm telling you if you're going to come to me, that's what I said. Go and attack those individuals. You know, when I come on and talk videos, these Arsenal fans said this. I'm talking about that. If you as an Arsenal fan, like we have Peter Butler here, Liverpool fan. I never throw anything at Peter when it comes to the abuse I get from Liverpool fans, because although he's a Liverpool fan, he ain't one of the guys abusing me. Same difference. So yeah, let's move on from that very, very quickly. Let's do a few more comments here. Can't believe such a prestigious club is run so badly. Absolutely. And it comes down to the club, again, appointing the wrong man again. And I've been talking about this now since the end of September, October time. And look, if we win our next 3 games on the bounce, big if, I'll say, well done, Ollie. I'll cheer the victories because I'm a Man United fan. I love my club. But he hasn't convinced me yet. And I don't think he ever will convince me that he's a good enough manager to be here at Man United. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, you know how much I appreciate it. Actually got another super chat to do here. This is from Has Pepe Finally Arrived? You know what? Like I said on a number of a few people are trying to Skype call. This is not a Skype call show. Have you noticed we don't change angles and all this is purely being done through a live streaming thing on YouTube, so I can't take calls. Like, has Pepe finally arrived? No, I wouldn't say he has yet. Again, let's not be premature. You know, if he goes another 7 or 8 games without scoring, his performances are bad. You're only going to build yourself up as a gooner to feel angry at the end of it. But he was very good today. Some of the skills, of course, very unlucky not to get 2 goals. Congratulate him for his performance. And I saw a lot of Arsenal fans write him off. You know, I all know I had a pop at him earlier on in the season, but I publicly apologize for that. And then I've been kind of backing him ever since. And yeah, he showed up today. He demonstrated today. How good he is. And I think that Lacazette and Aubameyang, if they can get it, I've said it before, like if they're all firing, if Arteta can get those 4 firing with those all pulling strings behind them, I've said it before, they're one of the best attacking teams in the Premier League. They truly, truly are, if they can get it clicking and working. Because it's about the system that the manager entails. We know how good they are as players. Forget the banter from rivals. We know how good they can be. It's as simple and straightforward as that. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you so, so much. I'll be back tomorrow with more for you. Take care. Goodbye and God bless.